Hi green lovers, this is Tara and today is August 23rd and I thought I would give you a little tour of my fall garden nursery and all the plants and seeds that I have growing here. So let's start with this layered gallon tote construction that I've got going on here. So what I've done is I've planted a bunch of seeds in these 1 gallon pots and I've put them on top of soil underneath, and the intent is really to keep them nice and cozy and moist, with the soil underneath it also staying cool through this heat wave that we've been going through. We've been at, close to 110 degrees on some days for the past week. Wildfires everywhere. It's not a good situation. But yeah, the fall garden nursery seems to be doing okay. It's sitting over here in the shade of this beautiful oak tree. And yes, it does drop leaves every once in a while, but that's a small price to pay to pick up those leaves and in turn get that wonderful shade to keep these little baby plants protected. So what I've got going on here, I've got cilantro, and remember I planted these on the 8th of August, so this is barely 2 weeks and I've got all these plants growing. They grew very, very quickly. They shot up in the warmth very quickly, and that's one of the advantages of doing a fall garden, is you're starting your seeds when the weather is warm and so they germinate really quickly, versus when you're doing a spring garden, you're starting the seeds when the weather is cold. They take a long time to germinate, there's damping off problems and so on and so forth. So it's so much more fun to plant seeds in the fall and watch them grow. Over here I've got dill. I love dill. I grew dill successfully for the first time this year. Unfortunately, it's a cool weather crop, and so I planted it in spring, and when the heat of summer kicked in, it died off. But here it is again. They're coming back to life. Well, not coming back to life. I planted new seeds. And here is Swiss chard. I've got some cucumbers that I'm actually hoping to get a harvest before the cold weather hits. So this is actually a late summer planting. And here I've got some leeks. They're all growing nicely. I've got some Lisbon bunching onions here, and I'm not sure why they're taking, the germination seems very spotty, but leeks are kind of interesting that way. They germinate in various stages over the course of a long period of time. So I'm still hoping to get quite a few more plants coming out of that. In this tote I have got beets growing, and I'm actually going to thin these out. I planted approximately 1 to 2 seeds in each spot, and as you can see there are multiple plants growing, because beets, the seeds are actually little fruits, so they're like multi-seed kind of things, and each little seed can produce 2-3 plants sometimes. So that's why you see them in a cluster, and I'll let them grow a little bit more. I will thin them out, I will enjoy the greens, and I will let the remaining plants grow the bulbs to full size. Here I've got my carrots, and again these are growing very, very fast. One of the big advantages of planting in the tote is that I can keep a close eye on them and keep the roly-polies away, because those are a big menace to me when it comes to carrots. They do not let my little seedlings survive. So I'm hoping the carrots also will stay in this tote and grow to full size successfully this time around. Over here I've got some artichokes that I've been nursing, just barely keeping alive, and now finally they seem to be growing. I've got a volunteer tomato plant here in the place of an artichoke that died. I've got a volunteer mango plant growing in there because I had some compost in this bin. And I've got a volunteer sweet potato slip. It's always fun to have volunteer plants sprouting in your compost. Over here, speaking of sweet potatoes, these I started on July 6th. I planted the slips in here, and they sat around for a couple of weeks. Sweet potatoes typically tend to do that, at least for me. They take a while to establish, and then they take off and they start growing. So this has reached that take off and grow stage, and I've been trying to keep the vines under control. I've got some sort of structure that I've built here, and maybe I'll tie the vines up if they get too crazy. But yeah, again, these are a little bit late in season, so I'm still hoping to get a harvest out of these. I've got some more sweet potato slips growing in here. I've got an eggplant that was not doing so well. I just took it in its pot and plumped it in here, and I'm hoping that it will pick up after this heat wave dies. Actually, I do see I do see some new leaves coming, so that gives me hope. I might even squeeze out another harvest from this Japanese eggplant. I have got another batch of sweet potato slips that I started yesterday. These were sitting on my kitchen counter, pretty much doing nothing, sitting in glass jars, water-filled glass jars, and I figured, I'll plant them. I don't know whether I'll get a harvest, but we'll see. If I'm lucky, I'll get a small harvest out of these. I've still got about 110 days left till my first frost. And these are the ones I'm most excited about. It doesn't look like very much, right? But these are my Egyptian walking onions, and I actually am doing another video on growing these, but I pulled out a few of these and I dug into a few of these. There were some small ones, and then there were some larger ones that I planted here. They're all growing beautiful roots, and I was just really excited to see that. I do have one that has produced a green stem, and the others, I know they're growing because I dug up a few of them and they all looked beautiful. So I am excited about the Egyptian walking onions. I am hoping that once they take off in my garden, I will need to buy less, if not any, onions in the future. Now, the one thing that is not doing well is this little nursery that I've got going on here. These are my brassicas, my snowball cauliflower and kohlrabi, and I've got some, I think, broccoli here. Yeah, as you can see, the plants are really leggy. They were sitting indoors, sunny windowsill, but again, they reached out very rapidly. They sprouted very quickly, but they reached rapidly towards the sunshine, and in a few days, they have these long leggy stems. I think these are a do-over for me. I brought them out here, and they've been sitting here for about 3 days outdoors. I was hoping they would perk up a little bit. They're not dying, but they're just not doing well. So I've got plenty of time. I can still do another batch of seeds, and I think that's what I'm going to do today, and I will keep them outside so that they don't have the same problem that these little older brothers of theirs had. And the one final plant here, this is not a fall thing, but I just thought I'd share it with you because I am so excited to see my snake gourd, or my Chinese snake bean. There's various names for it, growing. This is a plant that I had in my backyard. Every summer we'd plant these. My mother cooked a really delicious dish when I used to eat meat with these beans stuffed with mincemeat. So yeah, I am so excited to grow these. I don't know whether I'll get a harvest, but just the fun of growing it, the nostalgia of it, makes me feel warm inside. So yes, this is one of the plants that it's tropical. It likes the heat, so it's probably not going to do so well. But again, just watching it grow is part of the fun for me. In fact, most of the fun is watching these plants grow. So thank you guys for hanging with me through this little mini fall tour video. And until next time, live green and love your greens.